Hello viewers and welcome back to Exhaust Notes. Unfortunately for this video, we had a little bit of technical difficulties with some corrupted files, which I'll show you now. Welcome back viewers to Exhaust Notes. Dylan here with the Mazda CX-5 GT SP. That's the turbo one. This car is a very popular car in Australia, and this is technically the performance version. So what we will do is we're still going to show you all the content, but some of it I'll just be here at my home office. So sorry about that viewers. Dylan here, and we are about to show you the Mazda CX-5 GT SP. Now, the CX-5 GT SP is the sporty version of Mazda's very famous CX-5. It's been a really popular model in Australia, and it is that nice fit of what I would call a medium SUV. However, this one's got turbo power. So, let's begin with the practicality stuff. So we'll check out the boot, the interior, the rear seats, and show you what that's all about. The Mazda CX-5 has 438 litres of boot space, and it goes up to over 1600 litres with the rear seats down. Now you can open the boot via the key fob, and there is a button on the back that activates the motor as well. It's not manual. Now one thing you'll find annoying guys is this is actually really low. I've hit my head on it a few times by putting things in and just going up and out. And what makes it a little bit more annoying is this actually goes higher, but you have to manually push it there. It would have been nicer if that just opened all the way. Keep your head nice and safe. Now in here there is plenty of space. There's also a little under compartment for the spare wheel, and there are levers in here for popping the rear seats down for quick access to all that extra boot space. When you're done, close it away. The rear of the CX-5 has plenty of room for adults. My knees are not touching the front seats, and there's plenty of headroom as well. Got some center lights here. Now this center console is actually really nifty because when you open this, you actually have USB charging points in here instead of down the bottom in the center. I really like that idea, just having everything here in like a workstation style format. Quite nice, and it folds away. Now these rear seats are nice and plush, you know, very soft, nice leather. It actually is a really comfy place to be in the back here. Nice headrest as well, and I love the all black features through the car. It really is nice and premium. Alright guys, I'm going to start with the interior a little bit backwards and go with the gauge cluster first. Now I really want to commend this gauge cluster. It is really defined, it's really clear and concise and really bright, and I love that. It's so easy to read everything. I really like how there is the cold level on the temperature gauge. Instead of having lights and little warnings and things like that, it's just right there in the temperature. It makes perfect sense. I like how the big ring in the center has good use of the leftover space in between the other two gauge circles. In that you can see the traffic sign, you can see your liters per 100 on the left. On the right you can see your fuel tank, even though it's even further on the right again, fair enough. But this digital one actually shows you your range in the same function. So it tells me I've got just under a quarter of a tank and 118 kilometers to go. I really like that feature. That is nice use of space. Now the center of the main gauge does change, but I do think this is a bit of an afterthought with, I get you might use the trips. I don't really think I would use the lane assist when I've got it up here in the head-up display. So don't really need it down here, but fair enough. Don't think I'd be looking at my servicing. I've already got my range, so I keep it in the nice standard needle format. Now the head-up display works really well. It's integrated into the navigation. You do see your lanes as you come up to a turn, which one you should be in, and the distance. It really is done well enough that you don't really find yourself looking at the big map in the center of your car. you just keep your eyes forward. So well done, Mazda, on that front. I do like the traditional Mazda stalks here, and this steering wheel is rather nice and has a nice bit of leather on it, makes it feel relatively premium. All pretty good. Over into the center, we have the updated infotainment, which is got information, which is kind of like your apps. You've got entertainment, so your music, communication being your phone, navigation and settings. Nothing too crazy in here. Fuel efficiency monitors, that does show up when you turn the car off as well, which is handy. And then you got entertainment, no Bluetooth, phone, you can go to your map if you want to. Relatively clear, nice and bright. Really a pretty decent system, if I'm honest. And you've got your connected Apple CarPlay and Android Auto when you want it via a cable, I believe. Down here we have our air conditioner settings. Now these are nice and premium feeling. Nice clicks in there. Nice easy layout, easy to understand. I like how it's still buttons, nothing too crazy. Nice start stop button here, a bit of chrome everywhere. This charge bay, I don't mind it. It works really well even with the casing on my phone, but because there's no lid on it, I find when you're braking aggressively in any way, like when I say aggressive, I mean minor aggressively, not like a real sporty drive. I'm just talking about in traffic, any kind of abrupt change. It does tend to fall, the phone will fall out and slide down. So that's just not quite as held in place as you kind of need it. You either need a taller wall down here or you need to sort of clip it in some way. You will notice there's also a bit of piano black in the center here and on the doors. So you just got to be mindful of that with this. Piano black looks awesome in this glossy finish, but it does scratch easy. So you just got to be careful with your keys and things like that. Shifter is no stranger. We've seen this in models beforehand. It's relatively nice, bit of leather on it. Nothing wrong with that. This switch now has a few more drive modes, which is good. We've got an off-road and a sports mode. And this is no stranger to us either. It still has the same infotainment controller, and for the most part it's pretty easy to use once you learn it, but while you're learning it, I just find it's not a car where you can just hop in and get the infotainment control in that sense. This thing takes a little bit of getting used to, and it takes a little bit of learning. You got to learn when to move it, when to scroll it, when to press it in. So you just got to play with it a little bit before you'll really feel comfortable, I think, with the connectivity here. The other thing I do want to say is this car does have a lot of safety restrictions with this infotainment, and for me I found it just a little bit annoying in some cases. When I first got in, I was ready to get going. I thought I'll connect my phone with the Bluetooth, and it wouldn't let me connect my phone. Why is that? Because I had it in drive but was pulled over, and I had to put it in the park and fiddle around. I think I ended up having to turn the car off and on, and off the actual engine off, and sort of sit there with it just in AC mode and things like that, and it just kind of made it a little bit annoying for me in terms of hopping in and feeling like I could just connect up and go. Same as when you're trying to hit the navigation. So if I go into here and you get press menu and you go where to, you've got the little scrolly wheel here to start typing everything. Now if you're going to try and do that while you're driving, you are going to find problems. I think I get one letter and then it shuts off and says no more until you pull over and put it in the park. So things like that I found just a little bit annoying. Obviously once you connect it up, you can sort of voice command it, which will help, but yeah, just be mindful of that, guys. Otherwise you'll find yourselves getting irritated. Pull over, access it that way, and you won't get annoyed at yourself. I do like in here the nice finish here for the Sporty SP, which is like, I would call it like a Kevlar, maybe a Kevlar style. It's definitely not carbon fiber, it's like a honeycomby pattern. Really nice feature. It does look good, and it sets out from the chrome rather nicely. You have a bit of leather on here, bit of leather on the top of the doors, and these seats are rather nice too. Now when I say rather nice, the leather is nice and they are super soft, but they do not hug you anywhere near as much as I'd like. Now, back down into here, we have our two cup holders, and in the center, we have this tray which moves. You can pull it out if you want. And I put that back in. You've got another 12 volt there and two USB-Cs, and there's plenty of room in there to put your wallet and things like that. Nice soft cushion for your elbow, same as the doors. The doors and the center here for resting your elbows were unreal. They're nice and soft, and they never get overbearing on a long drive. In a lot of other cars, that tends to sort of start to hurt your elbow. They've done a good job with that. Alrighty guys, moving on. So guys, now we'll get on to the driving. Now with the driving, the Mazda CX-5 GT SP still drove very much like a normal CX-5. The suspension was nice and soft. I even remember going over a speed bump, not realizing it was there at the speed limit of about 40 k's, and it absorbed it really well. I barely noticed it, so that is a good thing. However, being that it's the GT SP model, it did mean that when you tried to corner it spiritedly in its sport mode, you did find a lot of body roll. So there would have been a good chance there to add a little bit more of a sporty feeling in the corners and give it a little bit more handling. But given that its main goal is everyday driving, it does that amazingly well and comfortable. You could definitely go on some long drives. I did find the front seats lacked a little bit of support. They were very much like a bench seat. There wasn't a lot of hugging around the lower back or around the legs, and you're in a very upright position. But the seats were very, very plush, so very comfortable. This worked okay for the back seat. It was actually a real nice flat back seat, made it really comfy and cushiony. So that worked well in the back. Just the front, it could have done with a little bit more bolstering, I think. Now, in terms of the driving dynamics other than the cornering, the engine itself feels nice and punchy. It had a really nice exhaust note to it actually, and having the paddle shifters as well was a nice addition to be able to use. Overall, it was a rather nice drive, and it was an easy car to drive every day. And I think if you've got that little bit of extra money that you want to throw at a CX-5, it is definitely an option for you. Overall, the fact that it's got their sporty badge on it, that little crosshair, for me, that should signify a really sporty model, and I feel like this just fell a little bit short of that. It is the sports model, and it does have a noticeably higher engine output. You do feel the acceleration a lot nicer. The gear changes are nice and smooth with that paddle shift gearbox, but overall with the handling, it still feels, for me, probably a little bit too much like a normal CX-5. So there's definitely room to improve there. The brakes were amazing, plenty of room in the boot and the back, and good visibility throughout the cabin actually. And the head-up display was unreal, showing you the directions as you drive, things like that. Overall, they've really hit very close to the mark with the GT SP model, but I do hope that SP model can be honed a little bit more in the future. On top of this, there is something I want to mention in terms of it does feel like a light car, which is quite refreshing. The car itself feels nice and light and gives me MX-5 vibes. It's like there's a tiny bit of DNA in there from the MX-5. You can just feel it in the background, very subtly. And I really liked that element of the car itself and the way they've designed it. There's something there that you just, if you've driven an MX-5, you really can vibe it. The updated infotainment was reasonable, and overall the price is not too bad for what you're getting. It's not exorbitant, as you might say. So overall, a pretty fun week really. It's been a nice drive, nice refreshing car, and I do love the Sol Red. It is an unreal color, and it is, I don't know, it reminds me of Ferraris these days. It's just got I don't know what they've changed recently, but it's just got a real nice deepness to the red. It is very lovely. Well guys, apologies again for the office chat, but we will see you on the next one. I will thank Exhaust Notes and Mazda for lending me the CX-5 GT SP for this week. And if you have the means and if you like the look of it, I definitely recommend testing one out. Thanks guys.